What is up, everyone? It is Saturday, October 1st. September is officially dead, just like Josh Gordon's career in Cleveland, but we'll get into
Ouch.
that later. Yeah, starting off with a bang. We'll get into that in a little bit. I'm Jared. He's Ian. We're Ohio Sports Radio. We're back with the Ohio Sports Radio Show. This is episode 19 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show. Can't believe we're already to 19, Ian. Ready to talk some Ohio sports with you guys. For those of you who may be new to our show, we start each week off with our best and worst of this past week. So, Ian, let's hear your best and worst, brother.
I'm kind of upset now that you threw that Josh Gordon punchline at me because my best involves one of your Bengals players. I own Jeremy Hill in my pay league for fantasy football, and his performance on Sunday single-handedly carried me to a victory in that one. He scored me around 25, 26 points, and I am struggling at the running back position in that league. So Jeremy Hill was definitely a bright spot for me this past week. My worst of the week, new kicker with the Cleveland Browns, Cody Parkey, just wide left twice and off a goalpost. So, I mean, we should have had our first W against the Dolphins by 6 points, but missed 2 field goals in regulation, and then he missed he missed all 3 of them because we didn't get a shot at it in overtime. But 3 missed field goals, just brutal way to not capitalize on points. But it's my best and worst of the week.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that. I actually had the Dolphins, I think, as well as 99.9% of other Americans in my Eliminator Challenge. The Dolphins came through for me, got the win. So thankfully, otherwise I would be out of $600, a chance at $600. But brutal way to lose, by the way. Absolutely brutal. I texted you immediately afterwards, like, oh, that's so heartbreaking. But my best and worst of this past week, my best actually was on Thursday night, my Cincinnati Bengals beating the Miami Dolphins in the jungle. Thursday night football, primetime Bengals showed up, played. Andy Dalton looked great. AJ Green looked unstoppable. Absolutely phenomenal performance by my Bengals. Glad to see Vontaze Burfict back, number 55, man in the middle of the field. He looked great. The defense looked sparked with him there. My worst was collective worst. I think I speak for you, Ian, when I say Jose Fernandez passing away, age of 24. Just absolutely heartbreaking. He was an absolute stud. He's someone that baseball needs more players like him. Sports in general need more players like him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely just a sad thing. Died in a boating accident. And he was actually scheduled to start that day. That game got pushed back, or his start got pushed back, which is why he wasn't with the team. So ironic, just so sad, such a terrible loss for not only baseball, but sports in general. It's not like he was just anybody. He was an absolute ace, and he has a legit shot to win the Cy Young this year. He was that good. So absolutely just heartbreaking loss. Also the loss of Arnold Palmer, 2 different sides of the spectrum. Arnold Palmer lived a long life, got to live out his career, one of the wealthiest athletes of all time. I think this past year he was 30th on the list of top 100 top grossing athletes of this past year. I mean, he was still raking it in. He made over $700 million off the course. So unreal. 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, but both were absolutely beloved athletes. So terrible losses for the sports world. But that's a collective worst. I think Ian, you definitely agree with me on that one.
For sure.
Moving on though, let's go to our segment. We do it with something that's going on with pop culture right now. For those of you who may not have heard, Lady Gaga was announced as the Super Bowl halftime performer at the upcoming Super Bowl 51. Pretty cool guest. I actually, I don't mind Lady Gaga. She's an insane talent. She's a phenomenal singer, so should be pretty cool. I mean, you can't really do much worse than – I mean, they could have done much worse, don't get me wrong. But I think it's a pretty good get for the NFL. I'm not a Lady Gaga fan. I don't, listen to her music, but I know I respect her talent as a musician and an artist. So pretty cool get I guess, by the NFL. But that'll be the time I think most of us will be getting up, using the restroom, eating, drinking a few beers, going outside, whatever you got to do. But still, pretty good get by the NFL. But top 5 this week will actually be – mine and Ian. We're going to do our top 5 our picks for who we wish we could pick for the Super Bowl halftime show. So, Ian, I'm gonna let you lead it off. Let's start with number 5.
Number 5 for me, I'm a fan of Mumford and Sons. I think they'd put on a pretty good act for the Super Bowl, playing their stuff, and then maybe throw in a couple covers. Unfortunately, I've never been able to see them live. They don't tour that often in America, but everything I've seen live on online on YouTube has been fantastic. I think Mumford and Sons would be a good get. That's my number 5.
Nothing like a bunch of English guys who probably don't give a fuck about American football to play our halftime show for our most beloved sport. But I got some English bands on mine too, so I completely agree. My number 5 American band, Las Vegas, Nevada, The Killers. I think they would be electric at Super Bowl halftime show. I've seen them live many times. They're a phenomenal live band. I would love to see The Killers at the halftime show. I think it'd be awesome. Number 4 for you, Ian, on your list of your top 5 choices to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show.
Number 4 for me, I'm still in denial. They broke up about 4 years ago on my birthday, but I am a huge, huge fan of the Civil Wars. John Paul White and Joy Williams, their voices just harmonize so well together. They pump out some great tunes. I'd love to hear a live set from them on, America's biggest stage at the halftime show, the Super Bowl. So Civil War is number 4 for me.
That debut album by them was so good, but I think that'd be a pretty depressing Super Bowl halftime show. Personally, I don't know, but their voices, they harmonize so well. Beautiful. Number 4 for me, Arcade Fire, band of mix of Americans and Canadians. One of the coolest bands out there, in my opinion. Indie gods. Their music is so great. They have so many great anthems. I couldn't imagine seeing them play Wake Up in front of a whole stadium like that. I've seen Arcade Fire live multiple times. One of the best bands out there. So Arcade Fire coming at number 4 for me on my list of my top 5 choices to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. Ian, let's move on. Number 3 for you.
Number 3 for me, I'm going to turn it up a little bit louder. I'm going to go with Avenged Sevenfold. Been around for a while now. One of my favorite rock groups. Shadows and company. I think they would absolutely kill it on the Super Bowl stage, and I'd love to see it. I've seen them. I've been fortunate enough to be able to see them live once. That was before the Revs passing, and they were fantastic. So I'd like to see Avenged Sevenfold play that.
That'd be a pretty cool halftime show. Number 3 for me, they broke up. Absolutely heartbreaking. I was very, very lucky to see them together in North Carolina. It was this years ago. The White Stripes. That would be just to see them get back together, play the halftime show in front of America, play their hits. So good. Jack White's a phenomenal musician. Meg White on the drums, just keeping rhythm for him. Jack's bass melting solos. The White Stripes would be electric. I would love it. So number 3 for me would be the White Stripes on my list of my top 5 choices to perform at Super Bowl 51. Ian, let's move on. Number 2 on your list.
Number 2 for me is my favorite band out there. A lot of friends make fun of me because they say they're too poppy, they're too mainstream. But in my later years, I've gotten a little bit mellow, and my favorite band out there is The Fray. I've been fortunate enough to see them 4 or 5 times over the last several years. And they've actually, with Denver doing so well in the NFL the last few years, they played several playoff games for the Broncos home games. Because they're from out there in Colorado. But number 2 would be The Fray for me.
Okay, moving on for me. Number 2 on my list, my favorite band out there right now, Kings of Leon. I think they're the best band in America. Personally, I've been with those guys since their beginning. Everything about them, from when they were the Ruckus, long hair, coke-fueled Southern rock kids from Tennessee. Just phenomenal band. I would love to see Kings of Leon playing their new stuff. I can't wait for the new album. Actually comes out this month, Ian, so should be pretty cool. I know you're a fan of them as well. So Kings of Leon, number 2 for me on my list of my top 5 choices to play Super Bowl 51. Number 1, let's finish this off, Ian. Number 1 on your list of your top 5 choices to play the Super Bowl 51 halftime show.
Number 1 for me, I saw them last summer for the first time ever. It was their 20-year anniversary, so I was a little late to the party. But best live show I've ever seen, Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters. I would love to see them tear up the stage for the Super Bowl. Dave Grohl, dates back to Nirvana, and I don't think anybody ever realized, the potential this kid had. And he goes on and creates Foo Fighters and has his hand in all different kinds of projects. Foo Fighters #1 for me. Fantastic live act.
Never seen him live. I love the Foo. Would love to see him live. Dave Grohl is one of the best musicians ever. To be able to move on from a band like Nirvana and make a band like the Foo Fighters is just phenomenal. So I agree with you on that one. I'd love to see that. #1 for me, my all-time favorite band, Oasis. If you know me, you know I'm a huge Oasis fan. I love everything about them. They saved rock and roll, in my opinion. I love their heavy guitars, everything about them. Nothing like I said earlier, nothing like a bunch of English guys to come over and play a sport that they don't give a fuck about to play the halftime show at it. So Oasis, I'd love to see them get back together, play in the Super Bowl halftime show, hopefully with the Bengals in the locker room at halftime. That would be my perfect scenario. With the Bengals in the locker room up by 50 at half. That would be my perfect scenario in life. So that's our list of top 5, our top 5 choices to play the Super Bowl 51 halftime show. Speaking of the Bengals, let's move on. My Cincinnati Bengals cruised to a victory last night at the foot of Mike Nugent, basically defeating the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football 22-7. The Bengals, it was a must-win for them. They moved to 2-2 on the season. They have 11 days off now. They get to prepare for the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry World. Andy Dalton looked good in that game. He went 22 of 31 for 296 yards and a touchdown. That one touchdown he threw to Mr. A.J. Green, his partner in crime. AJ had 10 receptions for 173 yards, absolutely torched the Dolphins secondary. He looked unstoppable all night. Carlos Dunlap was huge last night, 4 tackles, 2 of those were sacks. He batted down a ton of balls. Just an overall great performance by the Bengals. Couldn't punch it in the red zone. That's been their problem all year, but I think that'll be solved once Tyler Eifert gets back into the fold. Bengals looked absolutely great, though. So I'm happy with the win. I'm not like most Bengal fans finding a reason to complain. I don't care if they win 2-0. I don't care if they win 1-0, if that's possible. All I care about is getting wins, getting back to the playoffs, and trying to move on from there. So that's all I care about. Ian, did you watch the game last night?
I joined in about 3 minutes left in the first quarter. So, yeah, I saw over 75% of it.
What were your thoughts as an outsider looking in?
Outsider looking in, you talked about the whole fan thing at the end. Because, I sent out a tweet last night. A win's a win. The Dolphins, and granted, the Browns and Bengals are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to offenses. But when Miami beat Cleveland last Sunday, it seemed like Miami's defense really only turned it on third down. And that's where the Bengals offense was getting stuck at, was on third down. That's obviously why they had to settle for so many field goals. But if you really go back and watch film of that game, Miami was a completely different defense when it came to third down. Like you said, A.J. Green, good Lord, who was supposed to be on that guy? I don't think Miami could have put 5 guys on him and prevented him from doing that. Just continues to prove why he's, a top 1, top 2 wide receiver in the game. Just fantastic. Andy showed up in the prime time. He's had some trouble with that in the past, but I thought Andy looked poised out there. Can't say enough good things, like you said, about the defense. Carlos Dunlap, at one point, I think it was late in the fourth quarter, Tannehill completed a pass to a guy downfield, and he started weaving in and out of the defense. It was like 20 yards from the line of scrimmage, and nobody could wrap this guy up. And here comes Dunlap just running back up field and just clobbers this dude. As big as he is, he's scary athletic for his size, and he's just a stalwart on that defense. So, things are going to, fall into place. I think you mentioned it early on. I think after week 1, you said, things really don't start getting kicked into gear until like week 4 or 5. Bengals are going to be just fine. I thought they looked pretty good last night, especially, the criticism that Nugent's got. He looked pretty good last night. He looked comfortable. It was a good win for the Bengals.
Yeah, I've said all along, I'm not worried about the Bengals at all. I don't worry about September losses. I don't think if you're a good team, if you're supposed to go to the playoffs, you don't worry about September losses. Like I said, I've said it over and over. It takes 4 to 5 weeks for a new system. They got a new offensive coordinator. Things have to settle. They have to get into place. They're missing Tyler Eifert, who's their biggest piece. I know people are worried about their red zone issues. When you get Eifert back in there, it opens things up. It opens the run game up. It opens AJ up more. It opens Brandon LaFell up, Tyler Boyd, whoever it may be. I'm not worried about the Bengals. They look good. They look good defensively. I know it's the Dolphins. The Dolphins are the Z-Pack of the NFL. They come along right when you need it. But I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the Bengals one bit. Andy Dalton, if I hear one more person after, let's say the Bengals go 3-and-out, and I hear one more person say they should put in A.J. McCarron, I'm going to blow my head off because Andy Dalton is the quarterback of this franchise. A.J. McCarron's a great backup. We're lucky to have him. But Andy Dalton is the man in Cincinnati. He has done nothing to lose his job. In the 6 years he's been there, he has done absolutely nothing to lose his job. You guys are crazy to keep riding him. I don't understand the hatred of Andy Dalton. I've said that over and over. He's my boy. I will back him until the end of time. I love Andy Dalton. AJ Green is a monster. You can't guard him. I think he's top 2 wide receivers in the league. I think he's better than Julio Jones personally. I can see the Antonio Brown argument, but I would take AJ over Antonio Brown personally. He's phenomenal. So Bengals look good. Everything looked good. The only thing that they need to work on is penalties going into that game. They killed themselves against the Broncos. They killed themselves against the Steelers, and those losses with defensive penalties on third down, especially they would stop the opposing team. They would get a penalty, and it would keep the drive alive, and it ended up hurting them. So they did a good job of that on defense. But what hurt them last night, it didn't really hurt them, but they need to fix it. They kept jumping offside, or the Bengals kept false starting. I don't understand how a lineman can false start when Andy Dalton's given a hard count in the huddle. He's telling those guys, "Hey, I have a hard count coming. Look out for it. Don't jump." They jump multiple times. It's got to be fixed. But other than that, that's my little nitpicking. Other than that, I think they look good. I'm not worried. Like I said, I don't care as long as you get a W up in that win column. So I don't care. I think the Bengals are going to be just fine. Let's move on, E. Let's talk about your Cleveland Browns. Now, they haven't played yet. They obviously play on Sunday. They will take on the Washington Redskins. The Redskins will open up as a 7.5-point favorite on that game. So I may actually take a little action on that. I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think. I think the Browns are one of those teams. They're going to get wins somewhere this season. This could be one of those spots. They looked good last week. They should have beat the Dolphins. Terrell Pryor, man, I mean, stepping up huge for you guys. So I actually like it. He's got a lot of heart, and he's out there showing that he'll do whatever it takes to help the team win. So I think the Browns are actually going to give Washington a game in that one. But the big news with the Browns, like I mentioned in the intro, wide receiver Josh Gordon announced that he will enter rehab for his, I guess, marijuana addiction. I didn't know you could be addicted to marijuana, but I guess Josh Gordon is entering rehab. Browns have announced that they're going to part ways with him, probably for the better. Ian, what are your thoughts on this?
As a fan, I would like to see Josh Gordon back in a Browns uniform. As a fan of sports, as a fan of people bettering themselves, as a human being, I think this is not just, being released by the Browns or moving on from the Browns. His whole move of checking into rehab, I'm a fan of that. It shows initiative. I mean, I know this guy has had countless chants, here and there and been suspended. It's been a laughing stock because you see how much God-given athletic ability he has, and you just see that he's wasting it, with these drug issues and stuff. But I think it shows a little bit of initiative. It shows admission that, he's finally addressing that he has an addiction. I'm all for him bettering himself as a person. As a fan of the game, I hate to see him. I was pretty stoked. And excited about the prospect of him coming back against the Patriots. But yeah, that's a huge hit to the offensive plans moving forward. But what can you do?
Can I give you? This is my stay woke moment. So
go for it.
Kids are. I'm staying totally woke on this one. I think the Browns told him way earlier, "Hey man, we don't see a future together. It's probably in your best interest to say that you're checking into rehab." That's a classic PR 101 move. Check into rehab, let the other teams know, hey, he's actually working on it, right? So when he gets out, everyone knows he can catch a football, but it's his character issues. If you show, like you said, initiative, like, hey, I'm checking into rehab, whether he's doing it to better himself or not, it's going to better his image. That way it'll help him with his next team. I just don't think Hugh wants that trouble. I remember the Bengals when they had Odell Thurman. Odell Thurman was a fucking monster linebacker. Couldn't stay on the field because he had off the field issues, just like Josh Gordon. They parted ways with him. I think Josh Gordon is much better than Odell Thurman was at the sport, but I think it's a classic PR 101 move.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I know Hugh made mention that he's kind of tired of answering Josh Gordon questions, and I get that. I don't think fans should be, especially fans of Josh Gordon, should be upset with the way Hugh handles those questions, because you shouldn't be focusing on that. You shouldn't be focusing on Josh Gordon. He's not a part of the game plan. As far as that being a PR move for him, it could. And if that is the case, then I give the Browns the utmost respect and kudos for that, because they're trying to help this guy, continue his career in football. Because like you said, there's no doubt that this guy can catch a football. He's going to catch on somewhere else as long as he can keep his nose clean. And I mean, he proved to be dominant when he played as a young guy. So yeah, just the best of luck out to him. I've had some pretty harsh things to say if you go sifting through tweets from way back when, but that was me being a fan of the game and just hating to see us losing a star player. That's me being the selfish sports fan that I am. But yeah, I fear he's going to end up going to somewhere like New England, and it's just going to be game over there. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of Josh Gordon, Bengals fans, please God, do not mention the Bengals bringing in Josh Gordon. Don't mention it, please. Just please don't mention that. We had our run with guys who have trouble in the league. Please don't mention that. It's stupid. It's not going to happen. He's a great player, but he's not a fit for the Bengals. He's going to go somewhere like the Dolphins. I could see him going there. I could see him going to Baltimore. Loves to sign players like that. Something like that. He did, just not the Bengals, please. Okay, just let's end this charade. Stop with the AJ McCarron shit. Stop with the Josh Gordon shit to Cincinnati. But yeah, the Browns. We'll get into our picks later. I actually liked them against the Redskins this weekend. But moving on, a couple house cleaning things. The Cincinnati Reds announced today or on Friday that manager Brian Price will return in 2017. Plus, the entire coaching staff was offered contracts. Ian, I know you're a huge fan of this move. You wrote about it. You said earlier in the year why the Reds should give him a contract. Were you absolutely stoked when you heard this news?
I was ecstatic because, so many people, forget about the Dusty years, and everybody, hated Dusty Baker. But in the end, Dusty got us to the playoffs. We had a very short window for success. We didn't get it done. They parted ways with Dusty. Brian Price, fantastic pitching coach, knew a lot about the game. They, give him the promotion to manager. Had a rough go of things at first because due to all the injuries last season. And then, this year, you got to deal with all those players that we traded, the keystones of the organization like Cueto and Frazier and Bruce and Chapman. We lose all these guys, and you see what he had to do with the bullpen. And it's like he's got a roster full – well, before the trades, he had a roster full of guys that, he had to find a spot for that it was not a very clean roster. I mean, it was cut up from top to bottom, and, it's tough to succeed like that. So I am happy at the fact that the Reds are giving him a shot because as the years progressed, even though this is a rebuild, the Reds started playing better baseball. And you started seeing who's going to be in the lineup in the future for this team moving to the 2017 season and beyond. And you started seeing who's going to make this rotation and who's going to make this bullpen better. And
Ian, did we lose Ian? Ian. I think we may have lost Ian. Well, Ian, can you hear me? Ian. Fucking great. Cut.